You know how most sequels just copy the original, but with less energy? Yeah, well this one doesn't do that. The Accountant 2 doesn't just follow the formula, it flips the focus, tightens the action, and gives you something more unexpected. Welcome back to another movie review, and today we're diving into The Accountant 2, the surprise sequel we didn't know we needed. So, if you're going in expecting the same stoic lone wolf thriller like the first one, you're definitely in for a treat. This movie leans way more into relationships, specifically the one between Christian and his brother Brex, but somehow that shift makes the jokes hit harder and the ending feel way more earned. Now, let's get into what this sequel gets right, what surprised me, and in my opinion, why this movie might just have outdone the original. Christian Wolff is back, and as always, he's still calculating, still deadly, but this time the target isn't just external. This one digs into loyalty, legacy, and what happens when a relationship you thought was broken might actually be the thing holding you together. Christian and Brex are basically two halves of the same coin. One's methodical and calm, the other is raw and impulsive. So watching them bounce off each other, it really works. There's no long-winded exposition or forced reunion moment, it just naturally unfolds, and I think that's personally my favorite part of the movie. But what really surprised me was how much of this movie isn't even about the mission. It's about these two brothers trying to figure out if there's still anything between them that matters, while dodging bullets and body bags along the way. I love the brothers' relationship and how it evolves over the course of the movie. It's incredible to see the growth, especially considering how distant they were at first. There's a lot of pain in that relationship, but by the end, you can feel the bond strengthening. And as someone who's close with his own brothers, the movie just gets it right. They don't overdo it or underdo it. It's just the perfect amount. The way they clash, joke, and eventually come to understand each other feels really natural and earned. And listen, those performances from Ben Affleck and Jon Bernthal are perfect. You can feel the tension in their dynamic, making the resolution just that much better. Their back and forth is so natural, and there are moments where their arguments really did crack me up. The dynamic is very engaging, heartfelt, and it's actually pretty funny at times. If you've got a sibling, some of these scenes might hit a little too close to home, and honestly, the brotherly arguments are really relatable. They feel real. It's like you've heard these kind of conversations at a family gathering before. It's not just forced drama, it's insanely organic. And while The Accountant 2 is engaging, it does have a few moments where the pacing slows down, particularly in the middle of the movie. I feel like the film tries to do too much, like several different storylines, from Christian's relationship to tackling heavier topics like the neurodivergence or like the autism, I think it is, or even the human trafficking aspect. And at times, these subplots can feel a bit overwhelming and pull focus from the main narrative. Also, the tonal shifts between intense action to latter moments occasionally disrupt the flow. But that being said, the chemistry between Ben Affleck and Jon Bernthal keeps things grounded, and while the pacing may fluctuate a bit, it doesn't take away from the overall experience too much. So, let's talk about that right now. What makes Accountant 2 work is the depth of its characters. This isn't just your typical action movie. It turns everything from the first movie up a notch, and I'm not saying that lightly, it actually does. Especially the emotional stakes. The action is still there, but it's the brotherly dynamic that makes this movie stand out. It's raw and real, making it so much more than just a generic action thriller. Also, the buddy cop aspect, where they're not really, it's like a buddy cop movie, but like buddy killers. And that might sound wild, but it really gives the movie a weird charm. This movie also takes a lot of risks. So if you go in expecting another gunslinging, high-paced action movie, you might be a little bit disappointed, but I think that's a good thing. It's a different kind of movie, and it makes the whole thing feel a bit more human. Like, these characters matter beyond just the chaos they're involved in. And the best moment in Accountant 2 for me is when Christian and Brex finally have that moment of connection towards the end. After all the tension and struggles they've been through, I'm talking about the scene where they both face their demons and you can see the weight of their past finally lifting off their shoulders. It's not just some huge action scene, it's a quiet, powerful exchange between the two of them. Christian, usually so stoic and emotionless, actually lets his guard down for a second, and Brex, with all his rough edges, shows a vulnerability that's been hidden underneath the surface. And that moment of connection where they truly understand each other for the first time is very earned. It's the payoff of all the emotional groundwork that's been laid throughout the movie. And that just really hits home for me, especially if you've ever had a sibling you weren't close with growing up. There's something about seeing two people with so much unspoken history finally come to terms with it, and that just sticks with you. It reminds you that sometimes relationships aren't about fixing everything, but about choosing to show up even when it's messy. And the way that film handles that It's subtle but powerful, so if you like the first Accountant, you'll still enjoy this one. But it's not a carbon copy. This sequel focuses more on the character development and the emotional journey of the characters, Christian and Brax, which honestly really does work well. Instead of relying on the non-stop action, this movie digs into their bond as brothers, and that shift really paid off. It's rare for a sequel to change gears this much and still succeed, but The Accountant 2 does just that. It's a surprising movie that adds depth to the story and keeps it fresh. And thank you for joining me in today's movie review. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and feel free to check out my previous video. It's on screen now. I put a lot of work in these videos and I try to improve on each one, so if you can, check it out. It tells the algorithm that my videos are worth watching, and as always, stay curious and let's keep the conversation going.